Transylvania, Romania, a place whose stories are not just in legends, but are also embedded in human memory. Hoia Baciu Forest, a forest so ancient that even the grass growing there seems to wither before its time. People say UFOs have been seen here, some say people have disappeared. But the scariest thing, people forget themselves here. At Cluj-Napoca University's psychology department, 4 students, Andrea, psych major, Mihai, film student, Alina, paranormal studies, and Razvan, tech expert, decided to do something different for their final year. Andrea proposed, "Let's study the psychological effects of fear in Hoia Baciu Forest." Mihai laughed. "Perfect. Let's make a horror documentary." Alina nodded. "It's not a joke. There's something there that changes people's minds." Razvan was prepping cameras and sound sensors. Plan: a full 2-day camp inside the forest, take EMF readings, record video, and subjectively observe how it affects each of them. August 18, 1999, 10 a.m. All 4 stood at the forest's entrance gate. The weather was cloudy. GPS signals were already weak. Alina said, "This place rejects technology." The forest entrance looked like an old iron gate someone opened long ago and then forgot. 4 picked up their tents, equipment, and rations and walked in. After about 2 hours, they reached the famous circular clearing, a round area where nothing grows. No tree, not even a blade of grass. Andrea wrote, 10:43 a.m. "I feel like someone has placed a hand over my eyes." Mihai said, "Camera's gone off." Razvan showed the EMF meter. The needle was all the way to the extreme. Elena quietly said, "Begins." Nightfall. Camp was set, fire pit made, but there was something odd in the air. Suffocation, vibration. Mihai turned on the camera and said, "Say hi to Romania's Bermuda Triangle." That night, Elena insisted on sleeping in a separate tent. She said, "I need to be alone to feel it." 12:30 a.m., Razvan screamed. "Someone was outside my tent." Everyone ran out, but no one was found. Only a small bracelet. Not Andrea's, not Elena's. The bracelet was old, like it belonged to a girl from the 18th century. When Andrea picked it up, blood started dripping from her nose. Next morning, Elena was missing. The tent was there, the blanket was there, but Elena was not. On reviewing the camera footage, Elena walks out of her tent and goes toward the circular clearing. After that, static. Andrea broke down crying. Mihai was shouting like a madman, "Let's go back!" But Razvan said, "No, we will find her." The 3 reached the clearing. The same eeriness was still there. Andrea wrote in her diary, "When I stand there, I feel like I'm in another place, like I'm not here, but in some other world." And suddenly they saw a child, in white clothes, from behind. When Mihai went closer, he vanished. Razvan said, "We need to leave." At night, Razvan set up an EMF trap. He said if there's any paranormal entity, we can track it. 1:13 a.m. The alarm rang. Everyone rushed out with cameras. EMF meter was blinking. Andrea saw a woman in a white dress standing in the same circular clearing. Mihai shouted, "Don't go!" But Razvan ran after the woman. And then he screamed suddenly. When everyone reached there, only his jacket was found, his body, his shoes, nothing else. Andrea wrote, "2 people missing. The forest is consuming us." Andrea opened her eyes, and her tent was empty. Mihai was gone too. Only her diary was there, and it had something written in it, in an unfamiliar handwriting. "Forest is inside you. Now you don't speak from anywhere else, but from it." Her throat was dry. She picked up the camera. There was one last footage. Mihai was standing in the center of the circular clearing. In front of him was the same woman in the white dress. Mihai didn't say anything, just kept looking into her eyes. And slowly his feet began to sink into the ground, as if the earth was pulling him in. Andrea tried to scream, but no voice came out. Forest was now silent, dead silent. As she was leaving the forest, she felt like someone had their hand on her shoulder. Every 5 minutes, she felt like someone was behind her. But whenever she turned around, there was nothing. 2 days later, she finally reached the edge of the forest. When she got to the city, everything had changed. Her apartment's address no longer existed. The university didn't recognize any student by her name. Elena, Mihai, and Razvan's records were all erased, as if they had never existed. There was only one place where her name was found, an old Romanian newspaper. In 1999, 3 students went missing in the Hoia Baciu Forest. It is believed that a student named Andrea Ionescu also entered the forest, but no record of her was ever found. Andrea went to her father's home, a small village near Sibiu. But as soon as she arrived, people started looking at her like she was a stranger. An old woman looked at her and said, "You came back? Then who was the one whose body we found near the forest?" At night, Andrea looked into the mirror and saw another face in her eyes, Elena's. She was smiling, but that smile wasn't human. Andrea screamed and then fainted. When she regained consciousness, there was a tape recorder in her hand. When she played it, only one thing repeated again and again. I didn't leave the forest. The forest left me. 1 month later, Andrea decided to meet a spiritual healer, Baba Dumitru, a man who lived in the hills of Romania and claimed he had spoken to the spirits within the forest. He told Andrea, "You're not just broken inside, you've become part of the forest. But there is one way. If you leave your memories inside the forest, you can be free." At night, Andrea wrote everything in a diary. Lena's smile, Mihai's sinking, and Razvan's scream. Then she took the diary to the circular clearing and set it on fire. At that moment, the wind blew in the forest, with rage, with power. Then everything went calm. The forest let her go. Hoia Baciu Forest still exists in Romania, but Andrea never went there again. She left everything: university, city, and the world. She started working at a library. Old books, old secrets. She wrote a journal, just for herself, and its last page read, "I have returned, but I'm not the same. The forest is a mirror. It shows you who you are and what you're hiding. The day you truly start seeing in that mirror, you will not return." In 2023, a vlogger team went to Hoia Baciu Forest again. In the circular clearing, they found an old diary, burned, but one page remained. It simply said, "I am ready." They say when someone truly honest enters the forest, someone unafraid of their own truth, then the forest lets them go. The rest become part of it. Hoia Baciu is not a forest. It is a living truth.